All right, guys, we are back again on this episode of our very important podcast, the Glass Cast. And this episode, we are looking at issue that affects everybody. Today, we are talking about insecurity. While we were in the studio last week, having interesting conversations, people were dying somewhere in Nigeria, in the north central part of Nigeria, in a very important state that is critical to the food security of the Nigerian state. By the time we slept and woke up the next morning, over 200 souls were lost. All of us were concerned. We are all concerned because it's human lives that have been wasted. We are concerned also because this is not the first time it is happening. In fact, after last week, there has been more killings in Nigeria, in various other parts of Nigeria, in Plateau specifically. Again, the underlying question comes up: land. Why land? But one thing we have to be sure of is that it happened to those communities today. It could happen to every of our community tomorrow. Benue has been bearing the brunt of insecurity over the past 20 years. In fact, Benue have not known anything security since we returned to democratic rule in Nigeria. We don't know if democracy is to the benefit of the people or being detrimental to their development. But one important question we need to ask ourselves: do we all have blood in our hands? Because when things like this happen, we go back to the political leaders. Funny enough, our president was going to address the insecurity, to look at the root cause, to look at what happened in Benue last week. But it ended up as a political jamboree. They pulled up personalities from Abuja, went to Makode, had a political campaign, a political rally, in the name of sympathizing with the people that lost loved ones. The president was in Benue State, but the president did not get to see the mayhem that was caused to a particular community that, I believe, voted in 2023 for him to be president. Rather, the president gave reasons that it was as a result of bad road and flood that the president could not make it to that community. My question now is, did the president think of bad road in those communities that have been suffering insecurity before he became president? Before engaging in the 700 and something kilometer coastal road, is it a question of financial appropriateness or misappropriation? That is a question we have to ask ourselves. Again, we need to ask ourselves, do we all have blood in our hands?
Well, before you finish, I don't have any blood in my hand.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't have blood in my hand.
No, that's a good question because
let the politicians answer for themselves.
Yeah, because we are looking at this issue, in isolation. Yeah. But it's a problem that we should be addressing. If every Nigerian is keeping quiet to what happened to a Nigerian, it may come to them. So, are we asking the right question? The land grabbers that have been quoted, do they live in Jupiter? Are they humans? Are they from a community? They said they are herders. Do we have evidence that they are herders? Is the problem of grazing, cattle rearing, or is this something that there is more to it that we need to know? Who are sponsoring that? If you are a member of security services that is diverting the security equipment and putting it into the wrong hand, you have to think, do you have blood in your hand? If you are that politician, during an election, you fund people, you give them arms, you give them ammunition to hijack the ballot box and win the election for you. Do you ask them what they do with those equipment after the election? You need to ask yourself as a politician, do you have blood in your hand? If you are a parent whose child engaged in nefarious activities and you don't ask questions, and you don't inform the police, and you don't inform the security agents, even when you know that you don't trust the movement of your child, that your child that goes to hijack ballot boxes during an election with instruments and money that are being provided for them, you need to ask yourself, do you have blood in your hand? If you are that person that engage in manipulation of the system, if you are that person that influence the evil in the society, ask yourself, do you have blood in your hand? Today, we are talking about people that have been, slaughtered like animals. Again, we don't blame the dead, but we need to ask, do some of them have blood in their hand? It's a general question we need to address. And I think we need to begin to have conversations on how to move forward. I know there are many conversations going on already, but I find it a very laughable when the president was asking the Inspector General of Police if any arrest has been made.
And he said what? What was his answer?
You obviously didn't say anything.
But the people responded for the Inspector General of Police, and the response was for the president.
The issue is that we are just mentioning Benue State because it just happened a few days ago.
Exactly.
There is no state in Nigeria that has security. There is no state.
That's a fact.
I can tell you for free. I'm from Imo State. I'll give you a typical example. In Imo State, it used to be a promising state in terms of estate business, real estate business, landed property. People go to Owerri, buy property, it appreciates and they sell. Now, somebody told me a funny story of what is happening in Owerri now. That in those suburbs and outskirts of Owerri town, that it's almost impossible to get a buyer who will follow you into the bush to go and view the land, because the headers, the so-called headsmen, which I will call terrorists, are occupying the places. 2 weeks ago, only just 2 weeks ago, they killed an Nigerian-American citizen that came. He's an American soldier, came to Nigeria. Somebody told him there's a land that you can go and see and buy. On the way, they killed the man, kidnapped the wife, and asking for ransom. So nobody goes into the bush. No farmers don't go anywhere. They don't do anything, because the so-called headers have taken over our bushes in Imo State. You're just talking of Benue State, because that one, probably there was an outcry, influencers went there and so on, but people are being killed daily by these so-called headers. Now the issue is, why would somebody be called a header and he's carrying AK-47 assault rifle? Where does that make sense?
Where do they get the rifle
Where
from?
did they get it from? Are they more powerful than the security men? Are they more powerful than the police? Are they more powerful than the military? Nobody is asking questions. They are just walking all free. I recall those days, growing up in my village, the herders, they do come, but what they have is just their stick. And they are, in fairness to them, during that time, they don't destroy people's farm. In fact, if for any reason they see the heads of cattle going into the farm, they just guide them out or on the main road. But then again, for how long can we continue in that kind of primitive farming system, moving all around, destroying people's property? You have your cow, which is your economic venture. My farm, my cassava, my corn in the farm, they are also my economic venture that needs to be protected.
Exactly.
So what is the government doing about it? It looks like the government is in a very helpless situation, or is it that they don't want to do anything? Clearly, to me, I would say that they don't want to do anything, because the first and primary duty of the government is protection of life and property.
Exactly.
Because it's only when you are alive that you talk of property and other things that are, like Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and other things will be added unto it. I know you don't agree with that.
I will never agree. I will never agree.
I will come to that. But then, whether you agree with it or not, it's a case of you have to be alive. That then, before you seek other things. So when you are not alive, what are we talking about? The government is not providing security. They are not providing enabling environment for businesses to thrive. They are not providing anything. If somebody cannot provide security, then what is the government doing? That's the question. It's really, I don't know. The insecurity in Nigeria is I don't know how to describe it, honestly.
But let's look at this.
Yeah.
If you are my friend, and every time that you want to convince me or earn my trust, you need to be telling me that you are my friend. That you are my friend. You want to talk something to me, have a discussion with me, you'll be telling me that you're my friend. You're my friend. At some point, I will get suspicious of that. Anytime a policeman sees you, he will tell you, the Nigerian police, you know the police is your friend. The police is our enemy in Nigeria. Okay, can a thief come to your house today in Nigeria and you call police and you see them land there?
Good. That takes us into a very, very important terrain. How the Nigerian police is structured in the first place.
It was never, the Nigerian police was never structured to protect lives and property. So that's the truth of the matter.
So what do you think it was set up?
The Nigerian police was structured so that the federal government will exercise their presence across the federation, not to solve crimes.
Now,
that is the truth of police. Remember, the police is supposed to be local, because you cannot take a let me say a policeman from Zamfara State and come to Imo State and put a policeman who doesn't know the locals there.
Because crime is local.
Exactly.
I have a cousin. This thing you mentioned now. He used to be in Nigerian police force from Imo State. He had his training in then Police College, Ojiri. I don't know if that still have that. I don't know if that police college is still working. Finished, and when he came out, he was serving in Nekede. Served for 5 years. They posted him to Sokoto, and that was how he resigned and left the police.
Because what you are saying here, it resonates quite well, in my critical thinking. But I don't know if the police is the enemy of the people here, or the law that enables the establishment of policing in Nigeria. Because I always say it, I think one of the enemy the number one enemy that Nigerians of today have is the Constitution. Because let's look at the Nigerian police system now.
Okay.
Crime is local. But
there are some crimes that are international.
Well, the crimes that
somebody is.
But the basic thing that I understand that he is saying, yes, exactly, exactly.
So crime is okay. I wouldn't generalize it, but I would say most crimes are local.
Yes.
So and to tackle those crimes, you need local solutions. Now, I will take Nigerians to the Nigerian Constitution. Nigerian Constitution is the common law of the land, which guides every practice, every principle, every activities. In fact, the idea of ensuring the security of lives and property in Nigeria is enshrined in the Constitution. Is inalienable right. Now, the same Constitution...
Right to life, liberty and property is enshrined in the Constitution.
It's enshrined in the Constitution. But the same Constitution makes it impossible for the Nigerian police to police crimes in Nigeria. I'll give you an example. If you look at the Nigerian Constitution, I wouldn't want to go, want us to start, reading the letters of the Constitution to understand it, but I will take guys, let's start from Section 214 of the Constitution, which makes provision for the establishment of the Nigerian police.
Yeah.
You look at Section 214, you look at Section 215, you look at Section 216. Everything about the police is given to the center. It's given to the president. The president controls everything. That is why the president this week was asking a IG of police who is in Abuja why arrest has not been made. Meanwhile, there is the commissioner of police in the state, there is DPO, there is area commander.
Now, let me come in. The Nigerian states, or Nigeria as a country, is on a faulty premise.
Exactly.
And in law, they said you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand.
Exactly.
The Nigeria as a country is on a faulty premise with a very, very useless constitution.
I think that is the right word for it.
A very useless constitution. Unfortunately, that's what we have for now. Now, what we should be thinking or talking about is how do we get these things sorted from the roots? Because if we talk from here till tomorrow, Nigerian police will remain Nigerian police if we still have that constitution. And if we still have Nigeria as it is, presently constituted, then nothing would ever happen, nothing will ever move forward.
And maybe by the time we are finishing today, some people have been killed.
I can tell you, somebody is being killed. Now, we heard of Benue because the killing was like massive in one night. Situations where they are killing 10, in Nigeria now, when they said, you get up one morning and say there was a tanker explosion, 10 people died. It doesn't make news.
It doesn't make news.
It doesn't make news. So people are dying because the Benue one was... In fact, I tell you, he came to the limelight when Pope, the Catholic Pope, mentioned it, talked about it. That was when people started talking about it. But now, it happens every day. So there is killing and there is killing continuous in Nigeria.
The mere fact that our constitution... Okay, how many civilian governments have we had in Nigeria?
And that is the irony of
the mere fact that the constitution that Nigeria is using today is the constitution that was given to it by the military. It's even disgraceful. Because the 1999 constitution was a constitution that was...
Was it not time
given, exactly. And those governments are still sticking to a constitution designed by the military up until this moment.
Even developed countries, they've had a series of referenda on things fundamental to their lives. I know in Ireland they had one recently in Italy and so on. Even in America, some states on some fundamental issues, but Nigeria we've kept on very strictly to the constitution over to us by the military.
And what is more shocking, with due respect to Mr. President, what is more shocking is that...
whenever you proceed a statement with due respect, what fellows places are this sort? No, I can find it somewhere. Whenever you proceed a statement with due respect, what fellows places are this sort? So
I wouldn't insult...
I know.
Our dear President... Our dear President...
You don't want to track any information.
On a different, on various grounds, I don't have any reason to insult the president, but I have reasons to ask questions.
But his legitimacy is shaky, though.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind the fraudulent. It's not part of
So that's whether it's legitimate or not. We have to accept it's legitimate. Even though my governor, they call him Supreme Court governor.
So he's Supreme Court president then.
So his legitimacy is no more.
Exactly.
We're not agreeing to his policies. He's the legitimate president.
He's the legitimate president of Nigeria.
Whatever is given to us.
The point I'm trying to make there, and I would say again with due respect to the president. Because if not for anything, the president is old enough to be my grandfather. And I believe he has grandchildren that are my age.
I don't know if you know the president's age to make this
well, with his current age, that we know, the legitimate age that we know of, he's old enough to be my grandfather. So
not the real age, oh. Even the as in the official age, he's old enough.
I will still make it. So the argument I'm trying to make here is that this president, this party in Nigeria, came to power on the premise that they are going to change the constitution.
Did he actually say that? Was that part of his manifesto?
Yes, the APC, if you look at their slogan.
Did they say there was restructure?
I was thinking the restructuring was what was in their manifesto.
Well, restructure without amending the constitution or changing the constitution. Because that's the fundamental.
Amending the constitution and changing the constitution. For somebody like me, my philosophical background, there is no need of amending the constitution. And each time they talk about amending the constitution, sorry, but I think the National Assembly are deceiving the people, because there is no time that they have attempted to amend the constitution that they have done it in the right process. Now let us talk about the issue of insecurity, because I've given us instances, because the police is the only institution in Nigeria that is established to guarantee the security of life and property. Is the police. And today, the police only take instruction
from
Abuja.
Yeah.
If a problem is happening in my local government, in my community, the DPO would need to get approval from the commissioner, and the commissioner will need to get approval from the IG. Even the governor of the state, if you look at the provision, go and check.
I know policing is in exclusive list.
Yeah, it's according to the second schedule. If you look at the second schedule, part 1 of the second schedule.
Now,
yes.
Without if that is an option, without because changing the constitution, throwing away the constitution, is going to be almost a near impossible situation now, because we have a sitting government.
It's possible.
When you jettison it or throw it away, upon which basis, upon which document would the current government be working?
Okay.
Now, what I'm thinking is that there could be an amendment. In terms of dealing with this issue of policing. Amend the constitution, the exclusive legislative list, and the sections of the constitution that provide for police to be established by the federal government, and give power to the states and local authority to have state and local police like we have in other countries. Like if you know the police in Aberdeen is different from police in Glasgow.
Exactly.
They call them Grampian police in Aberdeen.
Of course.
Even police in England is different. The police authority in England is different from police authority in Scotland. So if we could start from there, because it's only when you are alive that we talk about good governance.
Of course.
So if we can arrest that one for now with local or state police, let me use that state police, and have the security in place, then people will be alive now to say, okay, we need good governance. Because if you go to your farm and you get killed, you won't come out to even ask who is your governor, and to ask if my governor or my president is doing well. So I don't know what...
I think on that issue of police, I understand that was how it used to be previously, but there's one police now that's called Police Scotland that merged all those Grampian police, Glasgow police together, Strathclyde police rather, together into one body called Police Scotland. Yes, but to be realistic in this discussion, what do you think? An example, for instance, of an instruction that you think the IG of police had ever given to the commissioner and that trickled down, that resulted in things being done, in things solving. The reason I'm saying this is because we might not be tackling this problem from the roots. In my own opinion,
exactly.
I don't think that the constitution is our problem.
Okay.
For me,
I think constitution is the problem.
Make your point. Why do you think it's not part of the program? It's not
the constitution is not the only law that we have in Nigeria. You understand? There are other laws that we have in Nigeria. Those laws don't work.
Okay.
You understand? So is it the constitution that is preventing those laws from working?
Now, we are talking about, we are not looking at, there are so many laws in Nigeria.
Yes.
Said.
Yes.
We are not here to look at all those laws, but
Yes.
we are here to talk about issue of security.
Yes.
It's only when you are alive.
Exactly. That's the point that I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make.
It's only when you are alive that you praise God. A dead man doesn't praise God.
The point I'm trying to make is connected to it.
Okay.
You understand? What I'm trying to say is that the reason why there is insecurity in Nigeria, why there is failure, is not because the constitution was faultily made.
Okay.